What's up? In this video, I'm going to go over the general CSS setup for Milo, and then we'll also cover the general category of the library items. So let's dive in. So first of all, where to save your CSS that you're going to write to overwrite Milo CSS. I would recommend that you would put this CSS to overwrite Milo CSS in the custom CSS area in Divi theme options. If you do go this route, I would recommend making a CSS file on your machine that you can basically back this up to. That way, if you update Divi for some reason and it wipes this out, I don't know why it would, but let's say it does, you have a backup of it. So I would just keep that stored somewhere. So that's where I would put the changes. If you're advanced with WordPress enough, you could make your own CSS file on the server that you can pull in through WordPress's code if you want to do that. At the very bottom of Milo, there is a custom CSS area, and you could put it down here, but just know that if and when you update the theme, this file is going to get updated. So you'll have to transfer that CSS over to the new file if you wanted to go that route. But again, the best route's the Divi theme options. So with that, let's just jump in and go over some of this basic CSS here. So here we have, this is just for the demo site here. So that's the left in. So you won't need that, so you can just ignore that. I'm using rounded corners on some items that Divi is unable to assign rounded corners to. So for buttons, obviously, we can assign rounded corners there, and to image modules, we're able to assign rounded corners in the Divi builder. But to columns like this, you're not able to assign them. So I made a class called Milo Rounded Corners, and I've chose to put that on some elements. So here, for example, this column here has a text module and a button module in it. If I inspect this column, you'll see it's got it's a column here, and it's got the Milo Rounded Corners, which is giving it a 6 pixels of border radius. If I take it off, you'll see that the border radius turns off. So if you decide that you don't want the border radius on there, you would just set this to 0, and then you could go into all the image modules and make those 0, and the buttons if you want to do that and stuff like that. So that's what that guy is doing. And then as of this time, Divi doesn't have a nice, easy, site-wide global way to set fonts for headings. And so we're doing that here. We're setting our font sizes. We're also setting some line height, our block quote sizing, and some margin for that. Also setting some spacing for lists and list items here to give them a little more space. We're making adjustments for the headings on tablet and headings on mobile here. So that's what all that is right there. Obviously, this is our hero code for our header code. Sorry, that's setting a very subtle box shadow there for the main header, and setting that for the fixed header as well. And then we're doing some spacing here for the phone and email right there. Some secondary menu item stuff up here with the font size for the links and the icons and stuff like that. All the navigation that we're doing here that you can mess around with it if you like. The sub navigation has a nice drop shadow on it that we're putting on there. Yeah, the mobile menu bar color is being set to 0 there. The hamburger menu, things like that, and some padding, all that great stuff there. Overlays, we have some colored overlays that we've built in for you. So let me find one here. For example, this right here. So there's a dark overlay on this whole on this section here. So if I inspect this, let me go to you'll see that each of these columns has a sfly black overlay class applied to the column in the Divi builder. And what that does is that adds this before class here, or pseudo class, and you see background color, 0, 0, 0, 50% black. If I take that off, you'll see that a couple of those images, weren't dark enough. So I can add that class and it helps with that. We also have there's a black overlay. Let's see what else is there. There's a dark and then a gray. So let's mess around here and see. Let's do dark. So that's the dark one. So it has a little bit there. And let's just try the gray one really quick so you can mess around with these and here we go. There we go. Gray. And you'll see it's 25% gray. So it just helps a tiny bit like that. So that's what those colored overlays are. And you can add other ones if you'd like. You just copy this and change the class name and put your color in there that you want. And then add that class to either a column or a section and you'll get that overlay. So that's what those are there. And then we have a two-column switch that we use. Let me see if I can find a section that uses that. Basically, a section that would use that. Well, that's probably going to be on our general section, so I might as well pull that up here. Here we go. Here's a good example. So by default, these two rows on tablet and mobile, they're going to stack, right? And so it's going to stack. This is going to go up top. This is going to stack underneath this image. And then this text would be next, and then this would stack underneath that. But we don't want that. We want image, text, and then the image and text. So if you put a column switch on this row, so let's go in here and check this out. Let's see here. Here's a Here we go. Here's the row, ETB row. Here's sfly column switch. I'm going to go ahead and change that and get rid of it. So we'll just take that off. And you'll see nothing's happened. But when I go down to mobile, you'll see we have the breathe image, the white background text, blue background text, and then our image. We want these two to switch spots. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this page, and it's going to bring back that class that we took away, that sfly column switch. If I go in now you see that we have the breathe image text, this image, and then our text down here. So that's what the two column switch does. And then we also have some other handy, couple other handy ones here. Inline button is one. So here we go. If you give a button, or I believe it's a row here. Yep. If you give the row inline button, it's going to make the buttons in that row line up. It works best with two buttons. My two buttons here. Here we go. And then it's just going to, so that works best for two. And then eventually down on, I believe eventually they will stack. Once it gets down to a small enough size, they'll stack. So that's the inline button there. You just add that to the row, that class. Let me show that again. So you would take this sfly underscore inline button row, this class right here, you would copy this, and that's the dot, and put this on the row, the CSS area for the row there. So if you don't know what I'm talking about by saying put it on the row, let me show that really quick. Let me go ahead and open this up, because that is important. And let me see if I got any other places I could do an example here. Okay. Use Visual Builder. and it should work back here too. So here's my row that these buttons are in. If I go into the settings, advanced CSS ID and classes, you'll see that button row there. If I cut this and save it, those buttons unstack. But if I put that class back in there, now they're gonna do that. They're gonna line up. Yes. And I guess let me snap back here. I'm gonna show really quick I'm just gonna put some text in here really quick, and we'll make this text light colored. I'm gonna show the overlay options here. So we'll go ahead and just make a light colored text here. And then for sizing, I'm just going to set it to be about half of the width here, and we'll center it. So there's some text there we can't see right now. We're going to go ahead and add a background image here. Let me see here. Let's do I guess we could try this one here. Okay, so you can see that it's kind of hard to read this text, and so you want to put a color overlay. Now, usually, let me add some padding here really quick to this spacing. Let's get some padding happening here. Here we go. So usually what you would do, let's say the background image is static. Usually what you do is you could come in here, and for some reason there's not, if you add a background color here, it won't show over the image. So we can't use that per se. So if we go here to this gradient one, we can set both of these, and then we can say, go down to 50% or whatever, go down to 50%. Now you still can't see it, but the gradient has a special place gradient above background image, and that seems to work. It will work until you decide that you want your background image to be parallax, and then it won't work anymore. So let me go back up to those overlays here. If I just go up here and I grab the SFly black overlay class, and I put that on our advanced here, right here, you'll see that it puts that class on there. But if I go to my content and I make this a parallax image, it's still going to keep my color overlay, which is pretty cool, right? And now if I go in here and let's see, our other options are dark and gray. So if I change this from black to dark, so it's not as dramatic, and then gray. So there's a few options there that you could use. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that section, but that's what these overlays do. Okay, I think that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be it for our those special ones there. So let's go ahead and look at the general section here. I'm going to go ahead and save this and then close out of that because we don't need it. And I'm going to go ahead and search for my general area here. Here it is. Okay, so it looks like in our general page, the only CSS that we have going on has to do with image background dividers, like here, like this right here. So this section, this image here is actually a background image. Same with this one. Same with these. And they're background images because they can expand with the text amount over here. You put a lot of text over. If I come in here and I put in a lot more text, let's say. Let me just go in here and whoops. we'll just keep putting tons of text in here, way too much. But you'll see now that my background image has grown over here to match this. A regular image module wouldn't do that. It would be stopped right here, and this text would go on. You'd have this weird space. So this is used as a background image, and on desktop it's set for these column heights to be the same, so they match. But on tablet, that goes away. And so normally on tablet, these images would go away because there's nothing in them holding them there. But what we do is what I've done in the super themes and in Milo is we put a divider module in there, and you can see that we're setting the height of that divider to 400 pixels right here, and you can see that right there. If I turn that off, it's just going to get rid of that. It's only going to show my divider. And so I'm setting the divider height to 400, and then it's doing all of these down here, and then I am changing that to 300 once it gets under 600 pixels there. So for example, if you didn't want it to be 300, if you want it to be maybe just 100 on mobile, which looks a little small. How about 200? You know, that could work. I think 300 is good, but you can change that. And so here you can change it just for this general page. This is going to be used a lot though, and I'm going to refer back to this general video for this feature. So in other videos I'll say, oh, there's our divider trick again with our half text, half column section. Look at the general video to figure out how to use that. And this is what I'm talking about, this explanation right here. So with that, the rest of these videos are going to be much shorter, and we'll move on to our next section. But that's the general CSS that comes with the theme. Some of the little tips, the CSS bonuses that are in with the theme, like the inline button, the color overlays, the column switch, and then the general section. So, all right, thanks again for getting Milo, and we'll see you in the next video.